Wow, system. Man, I just tried to start this like 2 or 3 times and didn't want to play, man. So I was saying like, what's up? People don't want me to say what I got to say today, but it's cool. Waiting on a few more people to come on. And then as you can see my title, it's dual justice, two systems. So I just want to talk about some of the things that are going around in the system and how the system is making a difference between the different people who are incarcerated. So my take is that all these high-profile people who probably deserve to be in prison, who probably beat the government, beat the taxpayers out of millions and millions of dollars, and cause a lot of people to go broke, lose their homes and everything. How these people are getting the compassionate release due to COVID, and they haven't served that much time. They didn't have that much time, but they're getting special attention. When you have somebody who's been down, they're 70 years old, been down over 27, 28 years, and they're not getting the attention that they need. Nobody is hearing them. Nobody's stepping up helping them, or the wardens and the powers that be are not looking into their cases. Now, before I really get deep into that, I want to take a special thanks, because so many times we fight for people and we don't really hear any good news. So, today I want to say congratulations to Elizabeth Rushing. Her and 30 other women walked out from Alderson Prison. What's up, Chris? You doing all right? And all that is due to the work of Amy at Can Do and a lot of other people. But I have to give credit where credit is due. The thing, and that's one thing I hate, that all the people who do the groundwork, the one that tote the load, they don't really get the credit that they deserve. So I want to tell you, Amy, congratulations to a job well done. Then we have Chandria Burks, who just got released after a long time. So Amy had been fighting for her also. So I just want to take time to celebrate. So they're finally looking at the women, and then the good thing about it is that none of these women left on house arrest or on a monitor. So that's a good thing. So it's about time that we got some good news in this fight. But on a somber note, we still have to look around the system and how Robert Evans is being treated. He's a paraplegic, and they shipped him from Talladega all the way to Butner and put him on the 5th floor. I hate to say it, and I don't like telling people this, but once they put you on the 5th floor, they're telling you that they're putting you in quarantine to let you fight for your own life. That there's nothing else they can do for you. You know what I mean? So that's one thing that we forget, that there are people all over the bureau who are fighting for their lives. At Forest City today, we have people. They just tested one unit with the nose tested, and they had 100 people test positive within the last 2 days in one unit. They didn't have any symptoms like fever, but they tested positive for COVID-19. So they have people in the rec yard. They have people in the chapel, in the hospital. They even have people in Unicor, with cots on the floor in Unicor. So it's serious, man. But you don't see this. You don't see this on the news, or you don't see people talking about these things. So it's a great day when we can celebrate and clap our hands and celebrate to people coming out, especially women. So no woman, no matter, especially for a drug crime, a nonviolent drug crime, should be subject to incarceration the way America has treated our women. So that's the one thing. Now back to this dual system of justice. How is it that the former mayor of New Orleans, who hasn't been in this long, who's obviously guilty, can get compassion release, or some of the high profile people who have gotten I don't like to really call names because some of these people, uh, are, how can I say it, well connected, or is maybe still in the hunt. They haven't gotten it yet, but just pay attention to all the high profile people that are going to get out within the next few weeks. Is it money that separates us? Is it the status or the poverty level that separates us from being to get compassionate release? I mean, what's the difference between uh, former Mayor Nagin and Robert Evans? What's the difference? Is it stature? Is it what is it? Even the people at the outside hospital in Talladega, when he went to University of Alabama Hospital right outside of Talladega, they said that this man needs special care that the BOP can't give him. They tried to refuse letting him go back to Talladega, and so Talladega, immediately sent him to Butner. And when he got to Butner, he was in such bad shape because he had caught, as soon as he got to Butner, he got a bone infection. And everybody know who has done time knows that each individual prisoner has their own set of viruses. They have their own strain of flu, They have their own strain of cold. So whenever somebody comes from one prison to a new prison, he's either going to bring in a new strain of flu and give it to the people around you. Either everybody's going to get sick, or he's going to get sick immediately from being in contact with some of those people who are already there. And so this is the hidden message that, or the hidden thing that they don't tell us. Now just watch. By the end of the fall, it's going to be mandatory that everybody who's incarcerated take the vaccine. I mean, it's obvious. It's just, that's the way it's going, and it's not going to be a choice. They're not going to give them a choice. They're going to tell them that, okay, you either take the vaccine or we're going to forcibly separate you, and give it to you. It's simple as that. So, we can't. My thing is, how can the government or the powers that be decide that this person is going to get compassion release, or this person? I mean, how do they do that? When most of the time, over 60 and 70 years old, I was talking to a brother that just missed it like I did, that just barely missed COVID-19. I love you too, Allie. How you doing? That just missed the virus, like escaped like I did. So in escaping, I think that God released me in order that I might tell some of the plight that some of the prisoners are going, some of the struggles that the prisoners are going through right now. That's in the state too. We're not even here, man. There's so many people that's sick right over here in Parchman, that officers and staff, but the news is not reporting that. Yeah, they're doing it county by county. And so I'm wondering if here in Mississippi, even where I live, are they reporting the actual number of people who are being infected along with the county, so that the public doesn't know that our loved ones who are incarcerated are still, are in dire needs. They're not going to give them the proper medical attention. What's up, Brand? And they're not going to give them the proper medical attention, and then they're not going to tell the public what they're doing for them. They're just expendables. So, and that's the thing. I haven't heard not one time. If you don't Google it, what's up, Buki? I haven't heard not one person or one somebody or one news station say, other than Yazoo, they did a blanket report saying how many people were there. Even those numbers weren't right, because I've been in communicating with some of the people at Yazoo. They said, man, they're shipping people out of there left and right because they're sick. And even staff have it. They just made it mandatory where the staff have to come in through the training center and take the temperature. Even the temperature thing hasn't been proven to be an effective method. Yeah, it's one of the ways that you can check for it. But all the people that got tested today or yesterday, between yesterday and today at Forest City, 101 unit, 100. They had not developed a fever yet. They had a sniffle, but they hadn't developed a fever. So 100, the unit only holds between 165 and 173. 100 people in one unit tested positive. I love you too, man. Call me when it's over. And so the thing is, man, it's I don't know, man. It's, if you don't dig and scratch the surface to find out what's going on with the incarcerated, then nobody knows. And you know, the one thing I have to try to tell people is that we got to stop telling stories individually. You know, and I always say that we got to come together some kind of with a global platform. You know, maybe like Plus. You know, like the Plus thing that's going to go on the 26th. Positive Leaders Unite. So we have to come together and tell the story on a mass scale. Just like Rufus Rochelle got out. He's been going to different radio shows telling about his plight, being being incarcerated for over 32 years. So he was on the Roach Brown show this morning, and it seems like they wanted to know about his story, but every time Rufus Rochelle tried to tell about some of the things that were going on, the people he left behind, the radio station would shy away from that in the interview. So is it that they have a gag order where they don't want to tell, they don't want us to tell them about what's going on in prison? You know, and another thing, they haven't even really contacted Phyllis Wall for him to do an interview, so he can tell the thing that was going on at Forest City, but nobody really wants to know. You know, other than Professor Coffee, who's at EDI, Educate Don't Incarcerate. You know, he has, only because he's been formerly incarcerated, that he have former inmates on his show, and he tries to report and tell the truth about everything that's going on. So I thank him for getting Miss Jennifer Evans' story out about her husband and what their family is going through with Robert Michael Evans at Butner. I just had a good friend that died at Butner a couple of weeks ago, you know. And so that's the thing, man. People are dying every day in the prison. In the prison in a hotbed. They don't really care. They're going to try to keep it at a minimum and put the gag order, but they're not telling people that also that they're making Terre Haute, Indiana, this so-called COVID-19 quarantine site. They're taking all the people who are not tested positive out and sending them to other places, and they're swapping them out with different prisons because Butner is so full right now. It has so many cases of COVID-19 that they can't take anymore. And they have two medical facilities. They got Butner 1 and Butner 2. And so most of the healthy people there who go there and work, who are close to home, like Derek Rayshawn Park, some of the people, they're being exposed every day to the virus. So what do you do when an officer come out? Just like last week, an officer at Bennettsville, kitchen worker, came in, she tested positive. They didn't want to tell the inmates that this woman had tested positive, so she had to let another staff know to let the inmates know that they need to get tested because they're doing random testing inside the BOP. They're not doing a blanket test where they're going so they can miss anybody. They're just spot checking here and there. If they pick up a symptom, then they go in this unit and spot check. So they're not doing it. What they need to do is go from one unit and do a blanket check of the whole unit like they did in WB. Like they did in WB at Forest City. Go through and do a blanket check and then separate these people. I'm not saying, I know they don't have a room or they can't move them like they want to. They got planes and stuff that they got to where they can come in. They do it if a riot breaks out. They pull a bus up in the middle of the compound and ship them off to another prison. If they even hear one seed of it being some violence or a riot, then they come in and pull a bus in the unit, and they'll pack up 200 or 300 dudes that night and put them on what they call decent therapy and ship them from prison to prison. Go through their paperwork. They can take time to do that. So now with this crisis going on, why can't they do the same thing with our people? Because this is a difference. You know, with violence, you may get hurt and you may not get hurt. But 9 times out of it's the same thing with COVID-19. You may live and you may not live. It's not a matter of whether you get hurt, and especially if you have an underlying condition. So, you know, that's just my whole thing. It's just like, is it their way of saying that, okay, you're a drug offender, then you don't qualify, or you know, you have, just because you have an underlying condition. The judge told Robert Evans, and he based, even after the prison staff, the prison doctor told him that, you know, this man needs to go home. That he needs to, this man needs to go home. that we can't care for him. There's nothing else we could do for him. He needs outside care. So the prison doctor told the judge this. So once they put the order in, the transfer order for him to go to Butner, when he arrived at Butner, the judge gave a 4-line denial, saying that he's denying Mr. Robert Evans' motion for a compassionate release simply because he's at a medical facility that can care for him. And I just posted the order, and I just posted the letter that came from the staff just 2 days ago. Go back and read the letter. The judge gave a 4-line denial, a whole 1 page. He cited everything that he had argued, but at the bottom he gave a 4-line denial of Robert Allen's motion for compassionate release simply because the Bureau had spent $40,000 or $50,000 to move him from one federal facility to another one, and Butner is already with the max with the number of cases that they can handle. They can't even. 75% of their population is infected with COVID-19, and there's no way at one of those facilities in Butner that you can social distance because you have open bays. Same way Forest City Low, you got open bays, man. Guys, everybody has to use the same. I tell everybody this at the same time. Everybody has to use the same restroom. Everybody has to use the same. Go to the same kitchen. They don't take time to clean up in between them going to the kitchen or them feeding a hot meal or anything. The people are still. This is their whole procedure for them right now, because they are so overwhelmed. Is that we can't let them go to the chow hall now. We got to call out a certain number of inmates, take them to medical, check their temperature. Check their temperature. Let them go to work. If their temperature is under 100, let them go to work. You can have a 99.9. If your temperature is under 100, you can go to work, and you fix these same trays where you could test positive for COVID-19 or be sick when you go feed the tray and still come back to the unit, because the staff are scared to death. And half of the staff is being reported that all the units are not wearing their masks. You know, so you making it mandatory in the states, in all these states, in Alabama, in Mississippi, in Tennessee, and in Georgia, that it's mandatory that an inmate, if he's seen outside of his cell or outside, he has to have, or in open bay, if he's seen without his mask on, that's during his sleep hours, then he could receive an incident report and or go to segregation. That's what's being reported. Just look on Facebook at the live videos coming outside of prison. And just look at what the prisoners, when the prisoners post the state prisons post their guideline, not the federal. The federal is being so secretive as to what's going on that you can't even figure out what's going on. So that's why I say it's imperative, man, that we as advocates, that's Educate, Don't Incarcerate, Can Do Foundation, Buried Alive, and all the different people who advocate for people. Marshall, everybody. We're working hard, but we're working too hard apart. We got to come together, man, and put forth some kind of agenda, some kind of national agenda to where we can work together. So in the event, because it's going to be a while before this is over, the numbers don't tell the truth. That's even in the public. And people are so tired of being hemmed up that we're not even caring. We're just assuming, because we're not hearing correct numbers, that everything is over. That everything is okay, we can go back to normal. And so that's the thing, man. We have to remember, and I want to speak to Black America, man. Don't be no fool, man. I tell y'all again, I waited from last week to this week. What have we heard about anybody campaigning for the November election? It's not that far. You haven't heard anything. What kind of agenda are they talking about putting forth in November or next year in 2021? You know what I mean? And so, what about our school children? What plans do they have for them for the next school year? What kind of safeguards are they putting in place? You don't hear anything about that, man. They're requiring teachers to go back and finish out the school year for the rest of the year. And Mississippi is the only one that's doing that. They could do it from home. So what are they doing? What is the government doing? That's from the state government here in Mississippi and all these surrounding states, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia. What are they doing to prepare for next month, giving us drops in the bucket of stimulus money, and people are spending it like this. It's a way to take your mind off what's actually happening. Okay, we'll give them this. They're going to run to the stores and spend it, and they're going to forget about the real problem. The real problem is, man, that everybody, everywhere, is overwhelmed. All the hospitals are overwhelmed. And so we have to protect ourselves. We got to protect our own communities. We got to protect our own people who are incarcerated. And we have to fight to get those who are incarcerated home. We got to protect the children of the incarcerated who are still here, praying and hope that their parents come home. And so what are we going to do? What's up, Cut Dog? You've been there. We missed about that much. So they don't tell us about what's actually going on. If we don't get inside scoop from inmates who are still incarcerated, then the news people or the BOP is not going to tell us what's actually going on inside of the prison. Again, I don't want to let this somber news take away from the fact that 30 women from Alderson, some about 20-something of those that Amy at Can Do have been fighting for, especially Elizabeth Rushing. She's home. She fought alone many years for her. Chandria, what's her name? Burks, I think, got home. So Amy and them had fought for her for a long time. And so we have a few blessings in disguise. It's good to see 30 mothers come out the same day, or 30 women come out of prison the same day, due to compassionate release. So maybe they're easing up, maybe because before then, I think it was only 1 or 2 women that had came out. It was Elisa Crow and maybe 1 or 2 more women. But, it's good to see that they're moving. But it's still a lot of guys, man. It's still a lot of guys from California back to Berlin. We haven't even heard anything from Berlin. Has anybody heard anything from anybody at Berlin Federal Prison? So if you have any news, man, share it. I go onto a lot of the Inmates Live Matter site and I try to look and report the news, man. We got to share these stories and let everybody know what's going on. And we have to become a cohesive unit to where we empower the public to help the people who are incarcerated. And for us at home, man, put your mask on. When you go out to the street, whatever, sanitize, wash your hands, and wash your hands. But that's my time, man. I'm Sippy from Sippy's Advocacy Agency, from SAIL. So I'm going to be doing what I can to try to help. Hopefully this is my last Facebook Live to where I have my own podcast show. And so it'll be coming soon. So I want everybody to subscribe once I get my my podcast show. But I will definitely bring it to you. And so I'll be coming on from there. And so hopefully, real soon in the near future. Take care, man. Y'all be good, okay?